I know that jam.
Yeah. What is up, everybody? It is a wonderful, warm, cold Tuesday here in Cleveland, Ohio. Even though the Guardians did
Cold there now?
literally, yeah, it's man, it's
Ohio's bipolar.
depending,
You know that, Chad.
depending on the day.
Thought it had gotten
30
warm. Last I heard, it was warm.
I
30
think they actually said they had their coldest opener is today. Actually, by the way,
Yeah.
I thought I saw that today.
It's 30 degrees. But hey, they walked it off in a win, literally with a walk-off win. So shout out to the Gardos for that. Nonetheless, we're here to talk about Cleveland's favorite sports team, the Cleveland Browns, and everything that's going on around them this week. We're going to get into the pro days, specifically the Colorado fellas. We're going to talk about Chad's draft narratives and some more mock draft talk. But before we get into that, we have a very cool announcement that needs to be made. This past Saturday, Mike, me, and Sam, or Mike, Sam, and I, proper way to talk, we met with a tavern in Parma, JB Tavern.
JB's Tavern.
JB's Tavern, and they're going to partner with the podcast. So they're the official tavern of your Bearded Browns podcast. And second, we have a tavern and we have a beard oil to be sponsored, so you can do your beard oil while going to that tavern. Make your
And you
beard
could
look
also
good while you're going to tavern.
you could also get insurance in case you are on your way to the tavern and get new correct.
Correct. Just in case you don't want. Yeah.
Chad's like, we just lost all our sponsors. Cool.
Yeah, we just our sponsors all
Don't
in
drink
one.
and drive, everyone.
Yes.
Or that will make you lose the insurance.
Buckle
but anyways,
Buckle up.
the other announcement that we have is a really cool opportunity there. As we were sitting there talking it over with Chris, the owner of the bar, we asked them specifically, can we do a draft day party here live? We would go live at your site, and he was excited. He said, for sure, let's do this. So it's official. Actually, we made it official that day, but either way on the socials, but it's official now. NFL draft day party, April 24th at 7:30. It will be held at JB's Tavern, 4305 Brook Park Road in Brook Park, Ohio. We're going to be there.
Parma, Ohio.
Parma. Sorry, it's at Brook Park Road in Parma, Ohio. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a live setup. We're just going to do the whole first round. We're not going to stop after the second pick because that would be pointless. But yeah, we're going to do the whole first round. We're going to we're going to have some draft stuff to talk about. We got to do some draft homework, but either way, we're efforting a special guest to be there. No names, please, until it's official. But once that happens, we'll make that announcement too. So what do you guys ready to do our first ever draft talk live at a bar in which partner with us with? Going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of an exciting change, right? For you guys, I won't be able to be there. I'm hoping to be able to call in. I might be running my own draft party, but the good news is I should be able to step away. But that is pretty cool to be able to do something as kind of notable as the NFL draft, especially the Cleveland fans, in our first round in 4 years, basically.
Yeah, right. Long time coming.
The last first round pick was what, 2021?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty big deal that you guys got that set up. That's great.
Really cool place, man. He seemed like a really good atmosphere in there. Chris seemed like a really swell guy, and seems like this is going to be a good partnership for future things coming up. Also, really excited to do that, man. It was awesome. Sit down with you guys and break some bread, have a few drinks, and talk Browns and
literally broke bread. We ate French bread pizza, which is what they're known for. And they had pretzels.
I did talk to Chris. You already know. I said, "Hey, man, how about a Bearded Browns flatbread?" And he's down with that. So we're still working that out. I already got toppings. I'm not going to divulge anything yet, but we already worked that out. So
yeah, so it's just an exciting opportunity for the podcast. But we want to invite you out, not only just to watch the draft, not only to come support us or watch it with us, but watch the draft at that bar, the new partner of the Bearded Browns podcast. So
yes, huge shout out to Chris and Jenny. Jenny was the one that initiated this whole thing, and Chris was the man behind the bar that made it all happen. So yeah, thank you both.
To go further into it, we will be doing live pre-games there on Sundays during the season. They're gonna have a whole setup for us over there. We're gonna take over a whole area of the bar locally. Their hope is to bring in some Browns fans to do some pre-game and game celebrations as the season goes on. So hopefully we rally enough support to bring people there basically so they can watch Browns games there. It's gonna be a cool opportunity.
For sure.
But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So let's get into it. Colorado's Pro Day impressions that you guys heard. What do you guys think? I mean, I heard great things about Hunter, which is what kind of seemed to solidify him going number 2 after his Pro Day. But what do you guys hear?
I'd like Travis Hunter over Shador all day. So that's my quick and honest opinion. I know Sam and I talked a little bit earlier, and he had kind of a different opinion on Travis Hunter, and I want to touch base with that. But go ahead, Chad, and give us your opinion on both those and Angel.
Yeah, so for impressions from the Pro Day, I looked up some articles afterward. I mean, I don't love those because a lot of them are from sources that are just I don't know, almost like overly like media friendly, can be a little bit biased. But I heard a lot of like, between the Pro Day, kind of Hunter kind of wowed, and then they said Sanders kind of hit on the things that he does best as far as accuracy and especially down the field throwing. And the article I read was essentially saying that both of them just essentially solidified the things that we already knew, but didn't change a lot of opinions. I thought it was a little funny because I went on X shortly after just to see some impressions, and I just think it's hilarious. Like everybody, the accounts that I'm familiar with, that I see a lot of interaction with, that were generally like, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is pretty good. Like just poked fun of the Pro Day. We're like, we saw nothing. Like he didn't show this, he didn't show that. And then the people that were pro Sanders and like have been staunchly either pro Sanders or pro like take any quarterback at any name who has a first round grade at 2, please. Their takes were like incredible Pro Day. Like he just showed how incredible he is. He's lock for number 2. It's a done deal. I just thought it was so funny. Like everybody just basically went in with like their predetermined like answer before they saw it. It's so clear. There's nobody that was like, I don't know, I wasn't huge on Sanders, but after watching this, or I really wanted Sanders, but now I'm really leaning like Hunter or Carter because of what I saw in the Pro Day. Everything was like exactly like I said the whole time. Lock it up. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw Hunter run. Actually, I don't know if the reports were true at the beginning where he wasn't going to do any route running or anything specifically during his Pro Day, but that seemed to change as they got closer. But I saw him running routes, and he did a lot of good routes. Got a lot of good cutting. His footwork was good, and I'm like, all right, I can see why. Even though I do believe he'll be the smallest as far as weight ever drafted that high if he does go top 5, but he does look explosive, talented. I could see why even both sides of the ball, like why he would be touted as the number 1 or 2 guy. Actually, probably number 1. The team above him didn't need a quarterback.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough one, man. I did actually look up a fun stat right before we get to you, Sam, on this one.
Yep.
2020 is the last time that Colorado had not 2 but 3 people come out in the draft. 2 people, 1 person in the second round, and that was Laviska Shenault. A guy in the 3rd round, Davion Taylor, and a guy in the 7th round, Arlington Hambright, which I don't know any of those guys off the top of my head, but it's kind of a fun fact that I never really thought of Colorado Buffaloes being an elite team to really put a whole lot of people in the draft, but clearly that's changed.
Yeah, and it kind of maybe even speaks about how talented both Shador and Hunter are, if they weren't that good to even have people in the draft, now all of a sudden, they're getting talent there. Actually, I think Sanders Dion got one of the top prospect of top rated quarterbacks, one of the top rated quarterbacks to commit to him. So I think he is slowly changing that program around. It also shows the talent. I mean, if they up the or program a little bit, I mean, it speaks for some of their talent at least.
I seen that there was actually 16 other players on the team that were being looked at. So, I mean, that's a lot of guys coming out, and for them to get looked at. So I thought that was a pretty good number, looking at talking about Colorado. And I'm like, 16 guys. Well, that's a lot of guys. Because everybody, you're hearing your Shadors, you're hearing your Hunters. Yeah. There's a lot of other talent over there too, man. So he's running a good thing over there, man. He's got it going on, Can't take nothing away from what Dion's doing over there. He's running good guys. And he said in that one thing, he goes, one of these guys is going to go to the Browns. I know one of these guys going to the Browns. So
yeah, that was a funny interview basically with him ending that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I got a different take on it. I seen like Hunter seems like he's getting pushed up now because it was like Abdul. Now I'm hearing Hunter. I got a take on that. I think I'm not taking nothing away. The kid's gifted. Obviously, he's awesome. He's in a place where he's supposed to be. He's in this draft for a reason. I just find him being a little bit undersized if he's trying to be a top wideout at 185. I mean, I looked up, your average wide receivers are averaging 200 to 210, 220 pounds. I just find him to seem like he's going to be, I mean, if he's going to run a slot.
What was he, about 188?
I think last time I seen it looked like 185 is what I said. 185, okay. Which I felt was undersized. But like, what are they going to use him as a slot? I mean, that's different. I mean, I just
a little undersized for an X for sure.
Well, yeah, and I looked on a few things before I was already had this thought in my head. I'm like, that kid's not really big, man. And you go underneath on these linebackers, you're going to get hurt. That's just the way I see it. If he's going anything underneath, but they did say that he needs to put some weight on. I mean, that was in the papers too. I looked at some of that stuff that Mike had sent me, and that actually was in there. And I kind of already had that thought. I'm like, a little bit more meat, I just he seems a little bit too small to be that big wide out. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my take on him.
These dogs got to eat.
But I'm not gonna say if I hear that at pick 2 and that's who we get, that's one of the guys that I'm okay with. I'm not gonna go boo. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? So I'm still an Abdul guy right now, and I'm gonna stand on that still. But we'll see how that goes. So
what's up, Adam, Gregory H, Rob, James? Thank you all for joining the show. It's one of those things where you're kind of skeptical, and like James said, where did that comment go? When he said that, I can see was his proud dad smile, like my kid's going number 2, but it's probably not going to happen in the way it sounds. We'll see.
So just to let you know, CD Lamb is 198.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch like Jalen Waddle's 185. I know.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill
Smith is 170 when he came out.
Tyreek Hill's 185.
185.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I would say is like he's a smaller receiver. But he's a speed-based receiver, a quick speed-based receiver. I don't think he's going to line up the way that like T. Higgins does, or like Drake London or DK Metcalf. It's like you have those guys, and of course you'd rather a guy be, 200 pounds. I mean, that it'd be nice to be 200, 210 pounds, but some of those guys may not have the same speed as him, and he's just a little bit different of a receiver. But I think some of the guys that surprised me, I don't think people would realize that Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase came out at like 190 something when he first came out, like 190 or something, and people were concerned about that weight, but he's put on, 10 pounds since he got in the NFL. But I don't know. I haven't looked at him close enough to see if he has the frame for it, but I would say ideally you'd want him a little bigger, but for the type of receiver he is, I think he probably can get away with that weight. I don't think he's like, I don't even think he's like, I mean, you look at, he's not Tank Dell at like 165. Yeah. And he's not Devontae Smith at 170. He's closer to the average, but he is a smallish receiver in comparison to like the general NFL wide receiver, starting wide receiver one. But he definitely, I don't think he'd play an X. I think he'd come in as like a Y because he just seems like a guy you'd go take in motion. You'd move him around a little bit. I don't know that you just line him up in the X spot and just go, but you can see he might still be able to do
Hey,
that.
when I'm playing Madden, usually X is my go-to receiver. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have the right one. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if
X-Post-
Amari Cooper
X-Post.
was our X.
X post all day. Fake to the handoff. Post pattern up top. Got him.
Yeah, so it seems
A
like
little
the
better. I would feel a little better having him be able to come in, even pick that early as a Y, only because I think Jerry Jeudy can line up
Yeah.
the X position. He's big enough to do that, and so is Tillman. Tillman is like a very like
Yeah, I think he's
standard
220.
size receiver. He's a big boy, a very
Yep.
Yeah,
All right, well, let's move along. I don't want to spend too much time on that. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about that here soon. Titans cancel 30 visits for both Sanders and Hunter, which kind of leads you to believe.
they know who their guy is. I mean,
That's what I was
kinda,
just saying. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think most people, it led most people to believe, well, lock in Ward, because if they canceled Sanders, they obviously are taking Ward. I don't know that counts out Abdul Carter in any way. I'm not saying I think they'll take Abdul Carter. I think it's a little bit of a jump for people to say, since they're not bringing in Sanders and Hunter, they must be taking Ward. Probably, I would say that's what Vegas has to have those odds gigantic. But I also don't think it completely counts out Abdul Carter because they've already seen his pro day. They had people there and they've had him in for visits. So, but it definitely signifies what Angel just said. Like, they obviously, this was the last thing they wanted to check off their boxes. And they were like, we've seen enough. If they were going to go with one of those two, I can't imagine they wouldn't have them in one more time. But that seems more like let's just go see. We think we want Ward probably or Carter, but let's just check this out. And they see it and they're like, no, that was all we need to see. We're good with our
Right now, it's a battle between the Titans and the Browns. I don't think we're going to trade down for the first pick. I don't think that's going to happen. That's unrealistic. I really don't think that's going to happen. But I think Andrew Berry.
I think there's too many good players at the top enough so that a team won't give up a ton for that guy, and it would cost way too much to come from like out of the top 9 to get up there. I don't think there's any change.
And what I'm saying is Andrew Berry's big board definitely has 3 or 4 guys in that first after that first pick. There's got to be, without a doubt.
Don't forget we've drafted kickers before, so
in the 4th round, though.
Slide that in there. Let's not forget that. Hopefully, we'll learn our lesson, fellas. So.
I think
hopefully. Speaking of Andrew Berry, his comments after the pro day, it did seem like one of his comments, I believe, was that one of them is he kind of shrugged off like, yeah, we're not trading up. Like, that's definitely one of the things we're not doing.
That more than once, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you guys know it's such an unrealistic proposition.
Yeah.
One comment I specifically remember, though, that was highlighted that I saw a few times quoted was he said in the post pro day interview was like something to Dion about like, yeah, is there a way we can get both of these guys? And people took that to the extreme, and all I saw like the next couple of days on Twitter was Brown taking Hunter, trading back up top 9 to get Sanders and guys. Not in a long time. The chance of them giving up next year's for this year's draft class, which everyone has questions on, it's so unlikely, man.
No.
So
Adam
the guy
just
slips and he goes way down, maybe, but like they're not trading back way up to get Shedeur Sanders. There's no way I believe that.
Adam just said something that literally is going to make Angel scream like a little girl. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if Browns took Mason Graham either. No one's expected them to take Denzel Ward, and then they did. Always expected the unexpected with Berry. And damn, Adam, you're right.
Nobody's talking about it. He is a prospect that's literally on most boards, like on the 10
Top
point.
2.
Yeah, on the 8 to 10 point grading scales, he's literally a decimal different than those top 2 elite guys. And on the 100 point scales, he's often like 1 to 2 points different. And I'm talking like Carter has a 95, Hunter has a 95, Graham has like a 94 or 93. It's not like it's this giant change. And it's another reason why I agree with Mike. I don't think there's like a big trade down plan. But if somebody is like, hey, we'll give you next year's first to move up to 2 from who knows, like anywhere in the top like 9, guys like Graham and some of those other high rated guys, I think are all people that we will look at like the show right before the draft, just in case, because of the Denzel Ward thing, because we did that on my previous show. And I feel like I didn't hear Denzel Ward mentioned once, but on the show right before the draft, we talked about Denzel Ward and like how that is probably a possibility to know what he was talking about. And that's who the Browns ended up taking. And I was like, oh, thank God we at least took a minute to like cover the next 3 or 4 guys on the board, because they did it that year without even a trade down. But if they were to move down 1 or 2 spots to gain a 2nd round pick or a next year's first, there's another 5 guys that we've never mentioned that like we should probably at least know, because people freaked out about Denzel, but we didn't, because we were like, we just covered Denzel and he's actually
pretty
awesome.
good.
Right. Like, so we're not worried that we haven't been talking about him, because we kind of like it just wasn't assumed he was a pick.
Yeah, we should as a show do that. I think even the edge out of Georgia, no one's talking about, but that's a potential. He's got a meeting anyways, and they have him close to Carter too. But I mean, again, I'm in the theory if they can't get a trade down and they do like Mason Graham, you take him at 2. There's no difference between 2 and 6. If you like a guy, you like
the
a guy.
Is Aaron Donald. Yeah, if you're looking at him, you're like, we think this guy is literally Aaron Donald. He's that good. I agree with everybody. I hate this, like, well, he's actually 5, so you should trade down. A, you might not be able to. B, you might trade down and somebody else might also think he's Aaron Donald.
Exactly.
Vrabel might be like, perfect, thanks for leaving this guy for us.
Yeah.
Like trade around talk. People discount the idea of when you trade around, like you have now given the board to someone else. Like you have no more control over who's going. And I just think that's like, it's talked about like it is like this set thing. Like, you guys not play like fantasy football or like dynasty football where you're like, you make a trade
Chad, I would love to say that we played fantasy football with you this year, but you didn't join our league. So
maybe this year. Maybe this year.
Never joining in those leagues. Like, you only have to do that once to be like, I'm in dynasty football. I had the 8th pick. I traded down to like 10, and the guy gave me like a late 2nd rounder. Great deal. And then the person you were like, will definitely be there, gets picked, and you're like, shit.
Dang it.
right.
That ruined my whole draft.
But that's just my fantasy draft, and I'm like so mad. But now I realize the possibility. Do you think all of these GMs aren't like, yeah, we love Sanders, but we're going to trade down to 9 and get him? But we love him, but we know no one else does. Like, you just like, if you love him, the person at 7 or 5 like could also love him, or somebody could love him and trade right past you, like leapfrog you and take him. And it's just like this funny theme of like, you can just land here and then get your guy. Like, no.
Maybe a lot of people have draft day in their mind when they think of the draft. So they think, oh, Sonny Reaver can go up and down like a yo-yo, and it's just not reality, folks.
It's funny too, because I was talking to Chad the other day, and I'm like, man, somebody told me this is going to be like a weird, goofy draft, and I was like, man, I'm just expect the unexpected, and Chad's like, exactly that, dude. Like, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a weird year.
Yeah.
Dave, thank you for joining us, man. Jen says this game's definitely on for fantasy this year, Jen. And if you guys steal my drafts again, I'm kicking Sam off the show.
You got to pick better, Mike. You got to pick better.
I couldn't. You guys stole all my picks.
Speaking of picks, the popular pick currently right now is becoming Hunter. All of a sudden, like we talked about, it's no longer Carter or even Sanders. Sanders was up there for a little bit. Now it's Hunter. I like that. I think, yeah, it's like 97%.
All the chatter. It's all these new mocks, which we have a mock draft section in a little bit. We'll go over them. But the reason I wanted this though, and I'd love to hear from you guys. The reason I popped this on there in that way is it was Sanders, like for sure, all through like January and into February. and then it popped to like Sanders has a little lower grade than a lot of people are accounting for. Now it's Carter, and then now it changed again and then it was bouncing back. Now then it went back to Sanders. Like, no, they just need a quarterback.
It was
And
Ward
now
for a
it's
while too.
Hunter.
Remember?
Now, do you think? Yeah, we got Ward for a little bit. Do you think now? I think the hype for Carter moved Carter to 1, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, now the Browns take Ward. Do you think this is like the last one, and then the next one is reality, or do you think now that we're getting close, we're going to see like a bunch of changes as guys want to like make creative, fun mocks?
I think mocks are still fun to look at. I really do. Sam and I were talking about actually doing some more. Angel usually does like 2 a week.
Yeah, I have a son now, so that limits my mock draft time.
I'm like, yeah, well, I thought like you're doing 2 a week.
I'm
Why do
like-
I got to
I'm
do
like,
one? Why does Sam got to do one?
okay.
Why does Chad got to do one? Chad lives in
I
a little
need-
fantasy land on mock drafts over there, so I just leave him alone. I don't even ask him for his mock draft. Chad's like, you really want it? I'm like, no, but I'll take it, I guess. No. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think we all should do a mock draft and post on our social media pages whose is whose, and we'll battle it out at the end, gentlemen. Maybe at the draft show.
I was going
That'd
to
be
say,
cool.
here's what would be great about the mocks, though. I play with the mock draft things, but these mock drafts are always based on the big board of the site that you're on. Basically, like if you're on PFF, you pick Shador Sanders second, they give you an F automatically.
Yes.
Ranked 40. What that means, though, is in every single mock draft I've done, I can always pick Shador Sanders in the second round for the Browns. And although there's some talk of his slipping, like I just don't believe. I believe that's based on their big board, but I just don't believe that's how the players will really fall. And so I like to do my mocks like closest to the draft because that's when I think the big boards have gotten closest to like they've gotten the most information. They like the people who do these big boards a lot, like Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, Todd McShay. They've talked to a lot of scouts and teams, and they've adjusted their own analysis and big board to like what everyone is telling them. So the mocks you do closer to the draft are gonna have the players go in probably a much more realistic order.
I have noticed you in the last 2 weeks, Chad, have kind of fallen in love with McShay.
I think
I
I've been
am.
watching a lot. If I'm being honest, I think what shifted me towards because I've never been a big fan of like the big media guys, like the ESPN and NFL Network guys. I think the big thing with McShay, and I've watched him a lot lately, now that he's under a different umbrella and he's not working for ESPN anymore, he talks about things differently.
Yeah.
But also what I appreciate about him, two things. One, I love the way he rates his players with an actual grade. He doesn't just like, here's my top 100 in order. He gives them a grade, and then he also tiers them. So like he says, like, for instance, his quarterbacks right now, his number one is Ward. He's in tier 2. He's not in tier 1. He's in tier 2. And then below, and he's got a grade. I don't remember what it is. It's like a 93. Then below him, he's got Shador Sanders and Jackson Dart in the same tier for different reasons. Like, it doesn't mean they're the same. It means they're like, they have different skills and different grades in his 10 categories that both lead them to being like a 90, which is like a bottom of the first round-ish type of grade. Then his next tier is Tyler Shuck, who he has like an 88, which is like a top of the second round grade. But that tier is just one below. So it's very much like, okay, this grade is sort of top of the second round, but with this tier, like if he's the only quarterback you have at that tier, somebody might pick him earlier than the second round. It just, the way he organized things makes a lot of sense. And two, I was on that draft huddle that I told you guys about that grades. How does everybody do in their big boards and mock drafts every year?
And he was high.
And in
Like on
big
drugs?
boards, over the last 5 years, Todd McShay was ranked like third for accuracy in top 100 big board.
Oh,
And
that's
basically
right.
they
You
did
did send me that.
get a point. Yeah, if you have a guy basically in the top 10 and he goes in the top 10, you get a point for each of those guys. And then the next 10 to 20, 11 to 20, and on and on. And over a 5-year period, he was like third overall. And he was almost in the top. It's not even like he had like 2 good years and fell. Like he was consistently like 3, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, or something like that. So like he's just been really good at big board. So it doesn't mean his analysis is right, but his like info he's getting from the team, along with like what his own analysis of these players, and then putting them in an order, he just apparently does that better than most people. So that's why I've kind of been listening to like what he says. So if he starts saying, I don't think Sanders is landing here, it just makes it more believable.
I guess we can kind of just check off this next one in the notes. The Carter versus Sanders war slipping was
Yeah.
actually in play.
And then we can get
We kind of
into
touched that.
just somebody who hasn't been right, like Todd McShay has been, and talk about Adam Schefter, who has quadruple pivoted on his opinions about the Browns draft. First, he says the Browns are likely to take a quarterback. Keyword likely. People run with that though. Oh, Browns are going to draft Shador, right? And then he goes, Browns are unlikely to take a quarterback, and Carter is likely. Oh, Carter's going number 2 because Adam Schefter said so. And then all of a sudden,
That sounds like the weather, man. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. You could be
It's
wrong.
going to be partly sunny today, and it might rain. We ain't sure yet. So go ahead.
and now he stands on, well, the Browns are taking Hunter. So obviously he goes with the trend. So
I think what's funny though is he's not a draft analyst. He'll like tell you
Yeah.
like I don't grade these players out. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing from sources that I know are good. And so clearly early on, people were like, he's talking to maybe other teams GMs, and they're like, I know the Browns are taking a quarterback, but like he must be hearing. He's actually is hearing this. He's not making it up. But like the thing is, like that's how uncertain this draft is
Yeah.
people are telling him, like, I think the Browns are doing this, and he's like, okay, I'll report that, and then later it's like, nope, maybe not. It also tells me the Browns analysis might be seeing, okay, at the combine I was seeing the Browns with all these certain people, and then I was seeing them with these people, and now I'm hearing they're talking with these people. So our agents are talking. Mostly, I think agents and other teams' GMs tell them what they think.
Yeah. Speaking of agents, Gregory said a 30% chance. But yes, speaking of agents, again, I'm waiting on a phone call from an agent tomorrow for a very special event that we got coming up again at JB's Tavern for the 24th NFL draft party. So guys, just wait for that news to come. Hopefully everything will work out in our way.
It's looking good. Sounding
Yes. Sam and I have talked quite a bit yesterday and today, and again with the betting odds changing in Vegas, Sam is kind of like stuck on like 3 guys, I believe, that he wouldn't mind getting drafted in the first round. Again, I'm not down for Shador. I'm not down for the clown circus again, the Johnny Manziel all over again thing. I'm really not. Yes, the kid is great. We received something yesterday that said he's also great. They gave us a lot of input on a lot of other players as well. And I think you know where I think Shador Sanders is going to be at? And James said it best. If Shador makes it past New Orleans, he'll be a Steeler. And hey, why not just go to New Orleans? Because your uniforms will stay the same. See you.
yeah.
I mean, those are 2 of the top 3 betting odds now. So what's interesting is the betting odds were staunchly at the top for the Browns like 2 months ago, because I remember thinking like, I don't know, Vegas usually knows its stuff, but like we said, the early stuff is probably not a great indicator because so much more information comes in. Right now, the betting odds are the Saints are the number 1 favorite at plus 275.
I saw that.
Giants are just behind them at plus 350. Then the Steelers jumped the Browns also, even though they picked so much later, at plus 600. All of these indicating like the Giants probably still like him. The Browns probably still like him, but like the talk of him slipping to 9 or 21 is real. So Saints, Giants, Steelers at plus 600, then the Browns at plus 750, and then the Jets, the Raiders, the Rams are all at 1,000. So like that is a
That was going to
huge
be
change.
That was going to be my next question. Where's the Rams at? So yeah, you answered that. So it's 1,000. Huh? Okay.
Yep, the Rams are plus 1,000, and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down the list.
Okay.
Jen says
Because
Shador gives me OBJ vibes. Not sorry.
Because I don't think he
The way
I don't
he
think
talks,
he's that-
kind of
Yeah.
the way he talks in the media, the way he talks, and the way like his cockiness, and the way the media like overcovers him. Yeah, I don't know if he's got the same attitude, but like I don't know what's up top really, and I haven't heard that he has that kind of like diva mentality so much as like a super competitive and confident mentality. But I can definitely see that media surrounding like we're gonna be a lot more on larger shows if he were on the team.
I'll tell you what, right now, if you wear a mouth guard full of diamonds, you're a piece of shit. That's just sorry. I don't want you.
I mean, you got the money. You got the money.
No.
You know.
Well,
Take
sorry
that
that
shit
you
somewhere
hate
else.
style.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, sorry that you hate style.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
you hate swag. Okay.
I wear
Sweat Grizz. He's just
I wear
like,
Reebok underwear in case anybody wanted to know.
Hey.
Like wearing large all white New Balances, just mowing the lawn every day.
I'm not that old yet, Chad. Come on, man.
He's-
Not yet.
Drinking my Coors on my.
I don't drink Coors, man. I drink Miller. That's Sam. Sam
Hey,
drinks Coors.
Well,
I was just gonna
I
say,
do drink.
guys,
I'm a
taking
bank
my
guy.
So, anyways, onto the show topic.
Yeah,
Haslam-
Still going.
Haslam has talked. Haslam's recent comments are basically stating that quarterback may not be at play this year, but we know that's a lie because he lied before. But it's not necessary this year. Is a
The question
fix.
is, he said that multiple times, and I
Yeah.
think his staff is kind of reiterating that. Do you think that is one of the reasons that the national media are taking those kind of quotes, and that's where you're hearing like maybe the Browns aren't sold on Sanders because normally a guy would be like, yeah, we definitely need to get the quarterback position, and he specifically came out and was like, we know we swung and we missed on Watson, and it was a huge miss, and we need to fix that. And then like in a very next interview, he's like, well, I mean, but like we don't necessarily have to fix it by using a pick on one this year. We
Come
just
on.
all realize that we need to eventually fix it.
That's him fishing Tennessee. Like, take that bait. Take it.
Well, I don't know what that would change Tennessee. Tennessee's not going to do anything different.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's know who they're going to pick, and I could tell you by the fact that they fixed their offensive line, it's going to be a quarterback because it wastes that much money unless you get someone in free agency, which is passed. So I tend to think it's Ward. But yeah, I agree.
By the
I
way,
think
wouldn't the world just crap their pants?
that would be
if
crazy.
They came out and they were like, actually, we have Ward graded about the same as Will Levis, so we're just going to hold.
That is crazy. That would be
The whole
crazy.
entire
Yeah.
NFL would crumble if Ward.
And the
doesn't
Browns
go
would be
first.
running to the podium like we want Ward. They'd be running, dude. There
Man.
would be no 5-minute wait. But yeah, that would be crazy because they would draft Abdul because that's who they have number one in the draft board, and then they'll go with Levis. That's great. That would be.
And I think for a lot of draft boards, that is number one because, like, I'll put it this way: if you don't have an elite pass rusher, if you happen to be picking in the top 5 and you don't have an elite pass rusher, Abdul Carter seems so easy of a pick. The only thing that holds me back for the Browns with him is we have an elite pass rusher, and you have to question the build of, is it better to have a lot of money and assets put into 2 pass rushers that are elite when you've got some other really good pass rushers
you do.
already on the team? Or is the best build to go a different direction, even if you have a guy with about the same grade, is that a better build to go to a room that might need more work? And it really is a debate because some will say, no, always take the pass rusher, build the line.
That's
And then
me.
someone
I'm on
said-
that Abdul. You take Abdul. The only way we're not is that, like you said, some crazy thing happens, and
Reasonable thing.
Ward's on there because Tennessee's like, you know what, we're taking them. Then
It's
we
essentially
go,
just a draft philosophy. It's like you
Right.
drafted a left tackle number 1 in 2024. Now you land on the board and your top guy is a right tackle. Do you want to spend 2 first rounds in a row on tackles? Or are you like, okay, we can fill in another decent tackle in free agency. Let's shift to another spot. And so that it's really just a team building thing, but I don't think there's a very obvious answer. And I think one of the things is, so this athletic thing, this athletic football podcast interview where they were like, they had Dane Brugler on, the host whose name I can't remember, and I really like him. I listen to a lot of his stuff. Not Robert Mays. I think he's on a different show now. But anyways, regardless, he basically said, and Dane agreed, like last year, some people had a different opinion about which quarterback would go maybe second versus third versus fourth, but there was majority had kind of a close to consensus. People had Marvin Harrison. Some people debated whether Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze would fall ahead. But they're like, when it was all said and done, you could look at every like major analyst had the top 10 written out, and all of them got about 8 right, and most of them in the right order. He's like, this year, I don't even see 8 people that put the same guys down. It's just different. He's like, and I'm just not used to seeing it so unpredictable. Whereas like last year, you might have had, Williams, Drake May, and then Daniels, and that was like the big switch. Was like, oh, Daniels went ahead of Mays. Like he's like, but this year, like some people have Shedeur second, some people have him 21st, and they're like, that's just so out of the typical. And it's the same with a lot. They're like, Ashton Genty's good enough to go 5th, but some people have him like 15th because there's so many running backs in this class. The good player, really good players like Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Ashton Genty are in positions that have so much depth outside of those top guys that they might slip a little because you're like, well, I can get a really good guy there in the second round at that position. So he's like, so they felt like this was one of the most unpredictable drafts they've had this close to the draft actually happening.
You and I actually talked about that the other day, Chad.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, I've seen things everywhere. I've seen Jackson Dart go to the first round.
Yeah.
PFF Jackson Dart like ranked 185th. He barely made their top 200. Like I've never seen this much discrepancy both in quarterbacks and other positions.
Mocks, period.
Yeah, it's all over the place. So it's like a fun year to look at them, but also the only thing you can gain from them is like, wow, this is really going to be up to each team's evaluation kind of year because there's so much less consensus, and it has to do with the same positions are stacked like tight end,
defensive tackle,
line, interior offensive line, and this middle class of quarterback especially, and pass rusher, and like because they're so stacked in those positions and everything else is like a little bit slim, like it's such a big gash between how guys might jump because they're the only guy left at a certain position.
So basically, this type of draft is if you have a quarterback, you would love this draft because there'd be so much of talent there that you wouldn't have to waste it on a quarterback.
Ooh,
You can
hold
get
on.
depth. You can get
It's just one of those. Yeah, it's one of those where you hope. It's one of those where you end up picking like 15th
and get a great player.
and a guy that's like a very good player, and it doesn't have a giant top side. Like there's not a ton of elite prospects and there's not a ton of elite quarterbacks. So people are looking at it like it's a bad draft, but they're like, I think Dane Brugler said that he typically comes up with about 25 draftable, like quote unquote draftable running backs in a normal year, almost every year. There's about 20 to 25 guys who are worth drafting. He's like, this year I had to cut myself off at 32. I could have gotten up to like 35, possibly 40, but I had to cut myself off at 32 because I was like, that means like every single team drafts a running back and that's never going to happen. He's like, but there's so much depth. There will be guys going in the undrafted free agency that will get drafted almost every single year. But this year in tight ends, you go into a draft, even a good one like last year was a pretty good, you had 2 or 3 good tight ends. The year before they had 2 or 3 really good tight ends. This year's draft blows those away. There's like eight tight ends that could be drafted that people think can be immediate contributors. That's nuts. That's a position that like most of the time you draft in the 4th round and you develop them for 3 years. Like it's just such a weird like stacked draft in specific positions, and I think that's gonna make it really interesting. Like
I'm gonna
take a tight end that you love in 1, or do you just wait to get 1 and 2 because there's also so many.
Yep.
I'm going to hit 2 of these questions really quick before we move on. RJ says, I want you guys to each individually answer this.
No.
RJ says, would you rather have Will Howard, Jackson Dart, or Jalen Milroe?
Dart.
I'm going to agree. Dart.
I'm going Dart.
Man, I'm gonna tell you something. I've
Dart and Howard's my. He's really right close on that back too, but I'm going Dart.
I just think. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go Milroe. I think the value on his upside. Now, depending on where you draft him, you know what? Forget that. I'm gonna go with Milroe because he has a cannon. The only thing you need to do is just tighten some things up on his mechanics. And I think Kevin and Tommy can do that. And I think he can be I don't want to compare him to Lamar. I think he could be Lamar-esque in this division. And he's bigger than Lamar, by the way.
I agree. Man, that's hard to agree to. Because Dart's accuracy, man. And hence the name Dart. It's fitting for Cleveland.
I do like Dart, but lately I've been looking at some Melrose stuff, and I'm like,
yeah. So I'm torn on that because like I like Howard, but why I like Howard is because I think most teams don't, which means like maybe he's there in the 4th, 5th round.
Yeah.
Because he's that guy that teams are like, well, he doesn't have a strong enough arm, so like I'm just not taking him, so he could fall. But if you're the question is asked like that, you got to be thinking like it's 3rd round, all 4 on the board. Who you taking or whenever it is, they've got to be together. And in that case, like I just think the analysis I've heard on Dart makes me feel pretty good about him. But the it's really close with Milroe because the one thing about Milroe that I really like is he's just brilliant and
smart. He's smart.
He's an academic All-American. Like he's not just like
he currently is running his own business right now with a friend that he is in college with too.
When it comes to like quarterbacks, I've said this over and over. Like I love the physical tools; they're a perk. But what the ones that fail almost every time are because they can't figure out how to read it. The physical tools are all there with Justin Fields. The reason he's not a team's $45 million a year franchise quarterback right now is because he can't quickly enough process a defense so that he can run the play. And the thing is, I have no idea about Dart's intelligence. He could be brilliant, so that's up to the team. But I do know that Milroe is really smart.
Yep.
So that's what makes it so tough for me. So in this case, I might also lean slightly Milroe, but it would be if I was a team in the building, I'd be looking at them both and saying they both have the arm talent. Milroe's a little more athletic, but which one of these guys can I throw on the board and give quick stuff to that he can diagnose in a couple seconds? And that's what would make the decision for me.
Excuse me. Before I get into that, Angel, I'll give you the next one, but I want to touch base with this. The draft guys are out. We have a bunch of them. Chad sent them. We sent them. We've all seen them. You guys can message us with questions. You guys could also go to our website, beardedbrowns.com. You could leave a voicemail.
Yes,
you could talk
leave a
about
voicemail.
them. Yeah, leave a voicemail. We'll play it on the show. Yeah. But we got our lads, PFF. There's so much going on with top 6 quarterbacks graded.
Jane Brugler comes out in 2 days, and we'll have that one as well. So we're subscribed to all those. And really, like, we're not trying to study the draft. Like, it's going to come, and guys are going to pick who they're going to pick. But we want to be able to answer questions for you guys on the show. We want to be able to hit topics with, like, better analysis from real draft guys rather than just, like,
opinions.
Yeah, opinion stuff on mock drafts. And the other thing is, after the draft happens or during it, I've had these draft guys before, and it's incredible to see, oh my gosh, I don't really know Anthony Schwartz. Like the Browns just used a 4th round pick or whatever it was on him. Let's look him up in the draft guide. And then you open 2 draft guides, and they're both like, no,
he sucks. Can't catch.
Not going to be very good. Yeah. So like he's graded as like a 6th rounder in 2 different independent draft guides who are both like outside of the major media and are just done by scouts. And you're like, oh. So instead of like the Browns type of like, here's all the positives. He's so fast. Maybe he's Tyreek Hill. You can actually look at real draft guides and say, you know, this is just a couple draft units opinions, but here's the real deal. And we'll try to give you guys the real deal on guys, not like the typical Ohio radio spin, which you're always going to get.
Yeah, there's a lot of information in this. We've done some homework. We got a lot more homework ahead of us, gentlemen. I mean, that draft show is going to be.
I was looking at it, insane. Bro. My eyes were crossing. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff in here.
I tried looking at it on my phone. I'm like, nope, wait until I get home. There's no way I'm sitting there like.
Yeah. I'm like,
scrolling through your phone. So, guys, you're on the clock. You got the first pick. You're obviously Tennessee. Who are you picking, Ward or Carter?
Tennessee?
I mean, you can be the Browns with the first pick, but hypothetically it's Tennessee. But if you want to put the Browns up there, sure.
Tennessee, Ward.
Okay. Who do you get, Mike? Ward,
Probably also-
Carter.
I'm gonna go with Ward. They're picking Ward, man. It's almost obvious.
Okay, so in this hypothetical scenario, then everybody's taking Ward.
We got a
Tom's
whole
around the-
synopsis coming.
Who you taking?
Who I'm taking, I think, oh my God, Carter's so good. My goodness. In the unknown award. I'm going to go with my heart, man. I'm going to go with Carter.
Tennessee taking Carter.
At 1?
Yeah, I'll take Carter over Ward.
Okay. So we do have both scenarios. I didn't think it would happen, but it did. Okay, so Ward goes first. Let's say now you're the Browns on the clock. Who is everybody taking it to if Ward was the pick?
If Tennessee took Ward, Abdul's for the Browns. That's me.
Oh,
This is I would hate being Andrew Berry this year, to be honest.
Defense wins championships. Lock down them two, get them two angry guys out there on that defensive ends, and let's go with it.
And I agree. Me and Sam have had a long
Get
talk.
the best quarterback you can get at 33 if he's out there, and be done with it.
Or you could trade down. You could trade down.
Yep.
There's
That's not on this scenario. You got to pick
yeah.
one. Mike.
You
all
gotta pick
right, fine. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna agree with Sam. I'm gonna go with Abdul Carter, not only because defense wins championships. You have two guys that are going to be a rushing attack, and people are going to be afraid to play the Cleveland Browns defense. If Greg Schwartz can get his head out of his ass,
run constantly.
that's
Run
fine.
up the middle.
You think those guys aren't going to be aware of that?
Run up the middle.
We got a good defensive
run up
line.
the middle or throw screen passes. I'm going to be like,
Yeah.
I'm never getting.
We got a good defensive line. You got to get rid of screen passes pretty damn quick too.
That
You
is
got-
why you draft Mason Graham instead of Carter, but that's a different show. Yeah.
How's that a different show?
Well, it's a different show because you could get a run stopper. You could get a run stopper, and you still have your pass rusher Miles, and then you still have McGuire.
And that's the
who's
team
second year
building thing.
first
Like,
round.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's the craziest takes. Now you have an elite. You have what you think is what's what we know is a Hall of Fame level pass rusher,
Yep.
and then on the other side you have Isaiah McGuire.
Who's
and you have
he's
also
good. And
Alex
he's good against
Wright
the run,
behind
and he
who's
does
the
pass
13th
rush.
ranked pass rusher on PFF for the
Yeah.
entire last season.
People
And
are
then
not talking about that enough.
you have a guy up the middle, but I'm taking neither. I'm taking Hunter. so we've got Carter, Hunter, and Graham. What's interesting, and again, I wouldn't argue with any. So the reason I'm glad I'm open minded to this and like I just appreciate the talent up there is I wouldn't be mad at any of those.
Yeah,
choices.
it's crazy. You're
I
right.
honestly wouldn't even be mad if they took Shador because at least I know like they're betting their jobs on Shador. They believe that's the guy, or else they would have let him slip. Because of the way the owner's talking, he makes it sound like he's not going to force them to take that pick. And if they take it, it's because they actually believe in him. And that's the most impactful position on the field. Even if he's just average, he gets us way, way better. So it's like, to me, there's all those scenarios. Let's go with Angel scenario real quick. So he said if he's on the clock as the Titans, again, a lot of people think Ward. So I looked back at that draft board. Levis was like graded like a 90, and some people have Ward graded around like a 92. So there's a chance that you say like if we run with Levis and he's bad, we're picking top 5 next year anyway, and we love next year's class and we think we can get a better. We're not scared of tanking. We have brand new personnel. We're good, and so we're not scared of having a bad season if we don't have a quarterback. So in that scenario, let's say they take Carter, rare, but maybe it's possible. Now, who is everybody taking with the second pick in the draft?
Wait, run that by me. F who takes Carter?
If the Titans were to take
Titans.
Carter,
I'm
If
taking
Titan
Ward.
If Titan takes Carter, yeah, then I'm going. Then it's Cam. It's Cam for me.
No matter what Haslam says, no matter what Berry says, it will be Cam Ward.
so you guys both went. And who are you going, Angel?
You got 15 minutes to
There's
decide, Angel.
so
Actually,
many.
about 5.
I'm
No.
torn between my 3 guys, but I think the reason why they won't get a quarterback at 2 is because the quarterback they want, they're thinking the quarterback they want won't be there. So I would say Ward too.
Yeah. So I would also say Ward, and I think that's interesting because it just highlights how different we and I would say the general population, besides like a small amount of specifically Browns fans, view the difference between those quarterbacks because none of us picked Sanders
Yeah.
though he's available at 2. But all 4 of us would take Ward if he falls. And I just think that's an interesting highlight of like, it used to be looked at as these 2 are pretty close. And now, like,
Yeah.
of his
Good
path,
point.
it's not anymore. It used to be like, there was talk of like, okay, which one, the Titans have the choice. Who are they taking, Sanders or Ward? And now it's like, Ward is just not viewed that way. And I think it's kind of interesting though, because when you look at a lot of like these draft guides, they'll have different stuff, but like PFF doesn't have Ward ranked that incredibly high, but still way, way, way higher than Sanders. I don't know what the Beast will say, but I do know that Dane Brugler had Sanders like barely as a first rounder, like around graded somewhere around like their late 20s or 30, and he's got Ward as like 12. So I don't know what the R Lads one says, but clearly like the draft, like very specific draft analysts who aren't in the media and getting like consuming the other intake have those guys so far apart. So I think
Well, I'll tell you what. On I'll give you one little quick hint on our lads. I sent it to you guys yesterday. Our lads has Travis Hunter at 9.8 on both sides of the ball. There's an outline of pretty much why he's still both great on both sides of the ball, and you sit there and wonder, like, man, is this dude really? He's athletic. I get that. Like Sam's point earlier, he is a little bit lightweight, but the Browns, I'm sure, will stock him up no matter what position he goes to if we get him. But at the end of the day, it's again a guy I don't think that's going to play both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I don't think they think that he's going to play both sides of the ball as like we do. I think they have a plan, and I think that plan will, if he does, is going to be analytically 10% of the plays or X amount of plays he will play, whether it's receiver or cornerback.
Certain
extra.
packages.
Certain packages. The good news about him having to bulk up is the Browns, out of all the grades that the former players gave the Browns, B was food. You know, the rest of it was D's and F's. So the positive is the Browns,
put some weight
their
on him.
facilities suck, their locker rooms suck, the owner sucks, but at least they get good food, so they know how to eat them.
The weight room was graded pretty well.
To be fair,
Yeah,
the
right,
owner
right.
is trying to rebuild the entire organization in Brook Park. Annoys people, but he's trying to change all of those things. I think that stuff has an impact on him where he's like, everything is rated poorly but our food. We need to move and get totally new.
We'll start truck loading in JB's Taverns, flatbreads down there. Gotta have to eat, boys. We got JB's on deck. JB's on deck.
I think realistically, you guys have probably seen Hunter's frame. He's not a little guy. He's over 6 foot. He's about 6 foot and a half.
He's 6 foot. Yeah, 6'1".
Yeah, most people have him around 6'1", 6 foot and a half, around 185 to 190 pounds. Like that frame, when I look at him compared to like when I remember seeing Devontae Smith
and Tank
like,
Bell,
like, yeah, or like, and Tank Dell's just little all over.
Yeah.
Like Devontae Smith is just slim. But when you look at those guys, like he has a frame. He doesn't look like he looks like a kid. He's 21 years old. He looks like somebody that in the next couple of years could put on 5 to 10 pounds just naturally by not going to class. And, he's probably doing incredible cardio to work both ways full time too. Like it's probably hard for him to keep on weight. I would bet it wouldn't be a shocker that by the end of his rookie year, he's 5 pounds more and he's eventually 10 pounds more in maintaining his speed, just based on the fact that even if he plays both ways, I agree with Angel, it's going to be packaged.
Yeah.
If he's a cornerback full time, he'll play 3 wide receiver sets or trick plays, like not trick, but like diagnose plays. And if he's a full time receiver, he's very likely to only play like nickel or like red zone was suggested defense, because they're like, well, he's not gonna have a ton of time to be in the film room, but if they're like at the 30 or 20 yard line, the field's cut. All you got to do is cover your guy, and we know he can do that incredibly well, and just cut off the passing game.
You can stop making good points now, Chad.
Honestly, these aren't mine. This is all stuff I heard on that Athletic Dane Brugler interview this week. Because they talked a lot about him, because the buzz right now is him. Just because the pro day, I think that pro day was to highlight him and Shador, and like Shador passed really well, but the problem is he did all the things everybody knew he could do, but like the guy that went out there that nobody was sure what he would even do was Hunter, and I think people left like,
Wow.
oh, yeah, like
Wow.
he was amazing. He runs routes better than we thought, and he was catching the ball without gloves, which nobody does because they're too afraid they could drop one and it's like a disaster.
Stick'ems.
Like, I don't care. Yeah.
Really quick, James says, I really thought Hunter was short of these are great wide receiver sizes in today's games, though. You realize wide receivers, cornerbacks, everybody's been dropping in size. They're not 6'3", they're not 6'4" anymore. They're smaller guys that are
faster. The game's a little smaller and a little faster outside of the trenches.
right. So yes,
So post free agent mocks, April 2nd.
Finally
Sorry.
getting real.
Yeah. So they had Walker Football had Browns taking Sanders. Jeremiah and Kuiper had Carter. Eddie Brown and Brandon Donahue
Brendan Donahue, yeah,
had Ward, and Lance
Zerline.
Hunter. Mike's 2 mocks from today.
Oh yeah,
I can
do you
tell
have
you
those
what they were.
available?
Yep.
I was going to ask. So for everybody that doesn't know, Walter Football got rated as one of like the best mock draft sites, but when they do these, they only take the final mock that places do. I thought it was interesting. Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper are like incredibly well known. Eddie Brown and Brandon Donahue were the 2 guys that were ranked at the very top of that huddle report of who's like the most accurate mock drafter every year. And you literally get a point for every person you get right to the right spot, or every person you get right to the right pick or team. And so, and then Lance Zerline is the lead draft analyst now for NFL.com as far as like creating their big board and ratings. And I just thought this was such an interesting highlight that they have Sanders, Carter, Ward, and Hunter all going to the Browns. And it's like, these guys are all so plugged in or so good at this. And even they have everybody different. So
It's a toss-up this year. This year is legitimately a toss-up.
It's like the dartboard, and just
Yeah,
throw one at it. Throw one at it.
yeah, exactly what that is.
I mean, I look at these mocks and I'm like, okay, well, I looked at 8 reputable mocks and 6 people have the same guy going to whatever team. That's probably who's most likely to go. And now you look at it and you're like, every single mock has an equal breakdown of different people going to the teams, including the Browns at 2. How often is there this much discrepancy of who's going at 2?
Yeah,
Crazy.
It is not.
Last year
There's
was
not much.
8 people had Jaden Daniels and 2 people had Drake May. That was it.
But look at the difference
Mm-hmm.
in play. Jens has grabbed the magic 8 ball.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Right.
Angel, do you have those mock drafts from Mike? I think I have them.
I got
Yeah, I
them
got
pulled up. Oh, you guys got them already? Cool.
Mel Kiper had number 2 Travis Hunter, so he changed his real quick. Nate Booger,
Nate Booger.
Nate Bumgarner. Nate Bumgarner had Travis Hunter from the Athletic, and then Chad is Chad. What you cut it off, man? What's his name?
I'm pulling
Chad?
him up. Hold on. Chad Ryder. Chad
Ryder. Draft analyst. Travis. Field Yates. Abdul Carter. And that's the only 2 I see.
There's still 3. There's still 3. That's still 2 different guys though coming to us.
And then the number 33rd pick for Mel Kiper.
I like this too.
Was Tyler Shuck.
A lot.
Nick Baumgartner said Tyler Shuck again as his 33rd pick.
Yeah.
Chad Ryder, his number 33rd pick was John Connerly Jr., offensive tackle out of Oregon. Do you guys say Oregon or Oregon?
Oregon.
Oh, Chad?
Oh,
Chad's closer.
Oregon?
Okay. Chad counts more because he's closer.
Well, he definitely lives right below it.
Right
so.
below it.
People in Oregon say Oregon.
Yeah, all right, cool.
I think of the old game, though. Oregon Trail.
Yeah, Oregon Trail. So my wife yells at me when I say Wooster because it's Wooster. It's not Worcester. But anyways.
Is that the sauce? Oh, the Worcester sauce.
Yeah, you wash your sister sauce.
Wash my what?
Yeah.
What's our last second round pick, Mike? I'm
Field
Giants.
Yates, number 33rd pick. Tyler Shuck again.
So we got 3 Tyler Shucks out of nowhere, by the way.
He's
This tells me 2 things. This tells me 2 things because, like I said, McShay also said if the Browns leave the first round without a quarterback, they should take Tyler Shuck with the 33rd pick. And I was like, wow.
He's
I think
26.
there's 2 things. One, this Tyler Shuck coming out of everywhere, there's got to be someone that knows something or is like leaking something, and it could be smoke. This is a part of the draft where you could smoke that a little bit. But the other thing that makes me like notice is people have just gone off the Browns taking Sanders, and most of them think Sanders will go, and even Dart will go eventually in the first round. Or people either believe Dart's going in the first, or he's way, way back. And so that Tyler Shuck pick is also this all of a sudden, well, if the Browns need a quarterback, they're going to need one at 33. Who is the most like Shedeur Sanders? And I do think that kind of is Tyler Shuck.
I'll give you guys a quick little glimpse of a mock draft, not a mock draft, but a draft guide. Our lads has Tyler Shuck at 5.56 out of Louisville, Chandler, Arizona. They project him to go in the 4th or 5th round. Yeah, 6'4". I mean, 6'4". He's a big dude.
Tall.
He's not
Yeah,
small.
he's tall.
He ran a 40
I
at
will say
4.63.
I've heard some people, like there was an interview, and I don't remember who did it, basically said, I took Tyler Shuck all the way off my draft board because he had 3 season-ending injuries. That's
Yeah.
the reason he's so old, is because 3 years he broke a bone. All 3 were a broken bone. And so he's like, I don't know the medicals the teams will know, but it makes me wonder maybe he has a bone density issue. And so I just pulled him because I'm just going off of that like thought process. Teams will know that from his like they do x-rays and all these medical tests on these teams. But it was interesting that guy's like, I wouldn't take him anywhere, like because I just think there's something wrong. Right?
That's something to think about. His broken bones, man. And his age, as he gets older, your bones get brittle. And trust me, I'm old.
You said he's
My bones
26, man. You're 4 years to 30. You know what
Well,
I'm
he's
saying? You gotta
25.
think of it
I think
that way. And you
Yeah.
already got a beat up body like that, man. I'm not taking nothing away from the guy because I watched some of his stuff too, and I like a lot of what I saw.
He can go to
But I do think
Pittsburgh.
that's-
I'll be
that's
okay
the
with that.
4th or 5th rounder, I think, is that teams are too worried about the medical, so they're just going to drop him and not take him. I think the talent, every time I hear the talent, I've heard if he was 22, he would probably be going in the top 5 or 10. And if he was didn't have this injury history, he would definitely go at the top of by the top of the 2nd round, even at that age, skill wise. But then that's not the only thing there is. There's also
All right, James, to answer
also-
your question,
yeah.
Bo Nix was 24 when he was drafted.
I already answered that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have
No,
not
I
been
just
paying
looked at other
attention.
stuff.
Angel
No,
Still
I
has to be
typed
20.
it. I typed it on him. I was like, dang, got him.
Oh,
24,
sorry.
yeah. No, you're good. He's
Tyler
24,
Shuck's going to
6
be
years younger.
26, I think, in November.
So he's 25.
And,
And again,
believe
the
it-
issue is
Real
that
quick,
he's,
the youngest one in here right now is Dart. He's like the baby of the whole class here.
Yeah, which is
I
different, though,
didn't know
'cause
that.
Baby
I didn't.
used
I
to
thought,
be so much younger.
right.
How old is he? 22 or so?
yeah,
So that
yeah, he's 22.
Jackson Dart
Hey.
is 21 right now.
21.
He'll
Yeah,
be-
he's the youngin of the whole quarterback draft class this year.
I think Chad might be the youngin of the show.
That used to be. I'm gonna look at this. I'm an old man with grays.
I'm an old man.
Bro,
I'm an old
Look-
man. It's because you drive. You're a truck driver, bro.
Dart.
You got to deal with
Dart,
all the
though.
knuckleheads on the road all the time,
Mm.
man.
Jackson Dart will turn 22 before the season starts. What I think is
Yeah.
interesting is like we think of when Sam Darnold got drafted. You guys realize he was only 20.
That's crazy.
And we thought he
He's
was
20.
old enough.
He's like-
He-
So it's just one of those things. Like I feel like all like last year, Drake May was 21, Caleb Williams was 21, and I think Jaden Daniels were all 21. Then you look or 21. They're all 21 or 22. Then you look at this year and like Sanders is 23, Ward is going to be 23, Milrow is 22, and I think like Shuck of course is 25 and change. But like it's just an old like quarterbacks. I'm so used to the best ones always coming out when they're 20 or 21, And now that just, I don't know if with the new formula for college players to make money, if that'll ever be the case. Guys are not going to want to come out as juniors anymore. You can make $4 million staying in college. I don't know if you guys have spent much time in college. It rocks. It's awesome. And to be the head quarterback of the football team at college is
No
probably
comment.
incredible.
No comment.
So
Speaking of which, I wrote an article of how the NIL is impacting the draft. You can go to our website, bearderbrowns.com, to read it. Yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
everything.
It is. It's impacting the draft. That's why the draft is going to be so talented. Like you're going to get a fifth round pick
Don't
that
have
might.
medical concerns. You're just going to
Yeah.
stick around and keep playing football.
Yep. Get that money, $4 million a year.
You put me out
Right
there
on.
as a dude. Give me $100,000 a year and just put me out there as a kicker for the practice squad. I'm cool with that.
All right. So, unfortunately, we have to end with this. We have to start. I want to get to the draft narratives, Chad's true or false. So we have to put that up in the chatter next week.
Sorry, Chad. We pushed you off 2 weeks in a row, bro.
I was gonna say, these have been at the bottom for a while. I should eventually.
Yeah, we need to put that as like priority number 1 next week.
Yes.
Browns have met with Sanders, Mason Graham, Junkins, Hunter, Carter, and today Isaiah Bond and the other quarterback thing. The guy we were just talking about. Man,
Shug?
the guy. No, Dart
Oh.
came in for a visit. Both of them came in.
So
for
now
their
they've had Dart, Shuck, Milrow, Ward, Sanders, and I read that they had a meeting with Howard, but then I heard he didn't come in. So now I'm not positive, but they've met all of the major quarterback prospects. I
Yep.
think.
So needless to say, even though Jimmy Haslam says quarterback is not as important this year, I disagree. I think they're going to try to grab somebody, whether it's second or third round, hoping somebody falls to them. That's my opinion. But I could
Anybody
be
still on
wrong.
a Kirk Cousins train while we're here?
Nothing about that. I did hear about Flacco coming though after the draft. I heard that now he's on the Browns' radar because of Cousins not working out.
Yeah, I just think like Wentz or Flacco are this like
Yeah.
right now a team's backup plan that they're just waiting on.
Once this
I
draft
bet-
once this draft is done, that's when we're going to start hearing the Cousins and the Flaccos and what's going on with this and that. Because we're going to have another veteran guy here. It's just
the big thing with Cousins is like there's so many factors. Like he's got. I mean, they talk about his trade clause, and so like I don't think that's an issue as long as the Browns don't draft an expected to start player. So either like somebody at the top of the second round who's more ready, or a guy in the first, or a trade up. Like anybody outside that, even Milrow, I just don't think is a guy you probably are plugging in to start. He's a guy that you're probably like, let's spend a couple months to a year like getting this guy's game more NFL ready. But I think if that's not the case, if there's any like, unless it's like one or two guys that the Browns could draft up top, I don't think Cousins will have an issue. But this still comes down to how much are the Browns willing to pay both Cousins and the Falcons, and how much are the Falcons willing to take to get rid of him? Because if they get rid of him, it's pretty late in the process. Now they're the ones looking to call Flacco or Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
But
Here's I want to get one quick take on too between Cousins and Flacco real quick. I want to clear air about something. I don't see Kirk Cousins being that mentor guy on this team if we do bring him along. I don't see him helping them kids out like that, just based on how he wants to be a starting. Hang on a second. How he wants to be a starting quarterback. He's not in here for, you don't want to be here for having a quarterback race. I'm not doing that. I'm starting somewhere. That's what I'm going to do. I don't see him helping any development with a younger guy as if you would bring a Flacco in for a year and try to groom somebody. That's one thing that I'm feeling with Kirk.
I agree with I definitely agree with the idea that Kirk, I think that's why Kirk doesn't want to be traded yet, because he's like, I don't want to go somewhere where they just drafted a guy that's going to replace me, halfway through the season or later. I would agree with that. But I've heard Flacco do interviews and say, like, I don't want to mentor a young guy. Like, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to play football.
He
I'm not
did say that, yeah.
should coach. That's why I'm like, I don't think either of them really want to mentor a young guy. I think they want to play or they want to be the backup, but they're like, Flacco is like, that's the coach's job, is to get this guy ready. Like I've got my own job. I got to get ready myself.
Well, we always say the money talks. So once the money's there, and then you're going to help a guy out. You know what I'm saying? If you're
maybe you're right.
You know?
Maybe the expectation, if he comes in, you say, "Hey, we're bringing you in, but this time we're bringing you in as a backup. We need you to be able to help Howard or whoever." And maybe he's okay doing that if like it made clear, like that he's not the starter.
If you wanted a clear mentor as the Cleveland Browns, you would have kept Jameis Winston here.
No. I don't mean that in this. I think the reason why he isn't here.
That'd have been okay for Bible studies on Sunday, man, and get him ready for the game.
No, I don't. What I'm
football.
saying is I wouldn't mind a Bible study, but what I'm saying is I don't think him and Kevin got along. That's why he's not here. I don't think it's his play. I don't think him and Kevin were on the same page.
His play definitely had something to do with it.
Kevin,
yeah.
Kevin's so
them interceptions were pretty tough. Angel. Those were a lot of interceptions.
And then you have Jameis like out there like screaming and like they were such different personalities. I wouldn't be surprised if not just coach, but the people on the team who are more like zoned in. And there's people like, this is football, man. We got to go out there and have some fun. Like you gotta have fun, and we're playing a game. And there's people that are like I'm very competitive, and like this is not fun. This is work. And like I could see if that's your mentality is like a grinder. Like if you're the type of person that's like blasting metal music and like staring at the wall before a game, you're probably not the person that wants Jameis Winston in the locker room, because you really just want to be like, dude, shut up. Like and he's like, yeah, let's go. We're gonna, like I could see a lot of people in the locker room hating having him around all the time. He probably wears on you.
Just always too happy and go lucky. Bam. Yeah,
right,
I can see that.
Right.
Right. These guys
love it. I think it's hilarious. But I can see people being
he
locked
was a
in.
breath. Hey, for what Winston was, man, last year he was a breath of fresh air we needed for that season, man. Without a hands down.
I thought he was.
We needed that, man.
I did read that he did change some plays, and that's why Kevin and him didn't get along, because he wasn't.
Oh.
And he did that before in New Orleans, where they said kneel the ball, and he ended up giving the ball to a guy to score his first touchdown. So he's done that before. So I think that's why he's not here. Also, the Flacco comment came out of Jimmy's mouth, and he said that he's in the conversation. It doesn't mean we're going to do anything, but he's definitely in the conversation. So if the owner's saying he's in the conversation, we're talking about it, we see him, we're not ignoring him, then obviously they are at least thinking
it's
about
somebody
it.
they already dealt with. It's somebody they already know, and he
was successful.
He was successful. He was successful, and he also the team rallied around Joe. So I mean, you already got that going for you. So
we had a guy on here that said that.
I know what shirt I'm wearing next week.
Yep, Stump Mitchell.
Yeah.
Said that.
So
like the
reading,
team loved him, the coaches loved him. It was easy to go to work.
Yep.
Reading that comment, maybe Haslam realized we made a mistake in not bringing him back and trying to go after Jameis, and we should have just kept him and win, as opposed to pleasing our $240 million.
It all went. I think it all went with that. I think it all went with that whole thing of like, we need, with the panic move from like the leadership of like, we need to change the offense and the coaching to fit Watson. And I think with that, they thought, well, then we also need a different backup quarterback who can do that other like mobile, move around, throw the ball down the field, possibly some option stuff offense. And that's where they made the pivot. And it was all just based on an overreaction to the fact that Watson sucks. And they thought he doesn't suck. It must be something else. And then they changed to something else, and he was even worse. And so I just think all that molded together. The Flacco, if they had kept the same offense, the same team, maybe looking back, they would have kept Flacco. We all thought it was based on the age, and I still think that's a factor. The guy's 41 or something now, but yeah, maybe they would have been like a little bit less quick to move on.
Crap, we definitely. Oh, damn, Sam, there's a pencil stuck in your beard. We definitely went over time, guys. Again, as always. But thank you all for joining us, James. Thank you for the stars, man. Appreciate it. Which I just saw that come across there.
Yep.
Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll have a Saturday show this week as well. We have we had a lot going on last week, and as you know, we had the meeting at JB's. I'm going to let Angel clear us out with that. I'm going to show you guys our ad, and we will see you guys Saturday. So,
Yeah, JB's Tavern, man. Go there April 24th, 7:30. We're gonna start a live draft party. It's gonna be fun. They have they actually just dropped a couple of new bottles of bourbon from a third party. I kind of was tempted to go try, but listen, just go there, come support us, man, and let's just celebrate the Browns actually doing something right this year. Because they're gonna get a good draft pick. Whoever they get, man, number 2 is gonna be good. Maybe
Absolutely.
that can be your local watering hole when the Browns either win or lose. You either celebrate or drown your sorrows.
Anybody can fail, but you got to feel like they got a pretty good shot to get a really talented guy who's going to be fun to watch. I'd be sorry if it wasn't the quarterback because, like, we're still probably going to lose a lot of games this year. But like, this, everybody has to open up their idea.
We
to,
can
like, we have to
finally
have
be
some
excited
pick. Now we're
about
going
a
to get
draft
somebody
again.
great. Yeah.
We can
So
finally
long.
be excited about a draft again. I told Mike if there's like 3 or 4 names, I'm not going to rattle them off. But if either one of those get called, I'm cool with that. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? So definitely something to look forward to, fellas.
So we'll see you Saturday, 10 a.m. live on all platforms, where we're just going to talk about random stuff probably.
Hey, Angel, you got to end the show the correct way, man.
Until next time, like always, go Browns.
Go Browns. National